What's up, everybody? George CSD Samuels here, and I thought I'd just do a breakdown of essentially a modern AI stack based off of the banger of an episode from Riley Brown and Ras Micky or Ras Mick. And in this particular episode, Riley and Ras both talked a bit about what's happening in the AI space, specifically around Claude Code, CLIs, and more. And I think what stood out the most for me was essentially the stack or the recommended stack for vibe coders as of June 27th, 2025 from Russ. And I noticed that it fit in really well with my stack mapping framework under conscious stack design. And so I thought I'd show how what Ras shared fits almost perfectly with the template. So this is an example of a stack map in conscious stack design. And what you see here, I paid attention to what Ras was saying about what is required or what he recommends. And you'll see here that, again, it fits nicely with what I call the 5-3-1 rule up here. Okay, so the 5-3-1 rule states that for any goal or scenario, so say we're looking to build with AI as a vibe coder, you must ensure that you have maximum 5 categories, or what I like to call substacks. And for each of these categories or substacks, you have a maximum of 3 tools each. Okay, and you can see how this is mapped almost perfectly with what Ross has shared. And so that's the 5 and the 3. And then the 1 is essentially for each of these categories or substacks, you choose your one anchor tool, the one that you're going to master or focus on. All right, and that becomes your preferred stack. Okay, so this is an example of what I would do with a client and have been already. But let's go through it. Okay, so Russ has shared that each stage of the process, you kind of start with the landing page. You know, what tool are you going to use for your landing page? And he shared, his recommendations. But typically for vibe coders, they're going to be choosing either Lovable, Bolt, V0, and there are many others, but these tend to be the most popular. Okay. Then for authentication, I've seen Ross use Clerk a lot. There's of course Supabase Auth, Convex Auth, and many others. Then we've got databases. Typically, there's Supabase, Convex, Firebase, many others, right? So I'm going to put here. And then for payments, we got Stripe, Polar.sh, and again, there are others. And then IDEs, they mentioned in the episode, but it wasn't necessarily needed for essentially getting to product market fit. However, if you are interested or a little bit more advanced, you'll find yourself using tools like Cursor or Windsurf. All right, so for your own stack, you essentially want to become consciously aware of what the tools are that you're exploring, and then essentially double down on the ones that you prefer, right? So as an example, I'll do this for myself, right? Right now, I would say V0 is my preferred. For auth, Convex really does make things super simple. So I would say, this is an interesting one. Look, I use Clerk because I think their management is a little bit better or more convenient, but Convex I would probably put as like a second because this plays really well with Convex. For database, hands down, Convex. The annoying part is that players like Lovable Bolt do not have native integration with Convex yet, but they should. There's other players, maybe I put Netlify, like Bolt works with Netlify. And then for payments, I like using Stripe directly, so I'll put Stripe. And then for more advanced work, I'd put Windsurf. Okay. Now, This essentially outlines a stack map, which once you know what yours is, becomes really useful for yourself when you're dealing with all these new tools that are coming out into the market. And so from this, we can see how for myself, right? So we start off with what Ras shared, but I'm going to just change this to my name. And we can see that my preferred stack involves v0, Clerk, Convex, Stripe, and then Windsurf. Okay, kind of in that order. There is a layer to this that might sit underneath it all, and that's the LLM or the model. But that might sit outside of the core stack map because LLM models and even coding assistants might actually provide another layer. So if we turn this into a sort of 3D view, you'd actually start to see the other layers that can make your stack map. But for demo purposes, this is essentially a modern AI vibe coder stack map, and hopefully this can help you figure out what are the preferred tools for yourself for each category or substack within your overall stack map. And yeah, if you haven't seen this video yet from both Riley and Ras, highly recommended, and stay tuned for more.